Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1:30 p.m. in New York and 7:30 p.m. in Valdobiadine, Italy, in the Veneto region, just outside of Venice, on hillsides that are covered in grapevines. I'm Sam Kimball from New York Wine Events, and I want to thank you for joining us on Virtual Day Trip to Wine Country today, presented by Citi. Today, we are presenting a virtual tasting of 4 extraordinary sparkling wines, all of them officially Proseccos. And one of the selections we are discussing today was named the #1 wine of the year on the Wine Enthusiast Top 100 list last year. Incredible. The #1 wine on a yearly list of the top 100 wines in the world. By the way, can you imagine the reaction they had at the winery when they heard that, when it was announced? That must have been really, really cool. So welcome everybody. Please fire away with any questions or comments you have during the session by using the chat function in Zoom. We love questions, we love comments, and we're looking forward to it. Speaking of the chat, please hit the chat right now if you would, and let us know where in the world you are tuning in from. Today's session is emanating from New York, but we are virtually traveling to Italy, and we have people joining from all over the US. So what city and state are you joining from? Let us know. Jennifer from Long Island. Welcome, Jennifer. Myra from Pennsylvania, Manhattan, Santa Clarita, California in the house. Great to see all these awesome places. Lincoln, Nebraska, love it. So cool. We love seeing everyone, and this is going to be a special international session of Virtual Day Trip to Wine Country. Thank you all for joining us. Atlanta, Georgia, Las Vegas, excellent. So this afternoon, we are going to the northeast part of Italy, to the official region and location where Prosecco is made. Some of you may know this, but like champagne, which can only be made in a very specific part of France, sparkling wines that are called Prosecco can only be made in a specific part of Italy. And that's where we're headed today. More on that when we bring in our guest speaker, who's awesome and amazing. Our theme for the session today is great Proseccos for any occasion and any food pairing. So let's take a look briefly at where we're headed. I'm going to show a map here in my background. So where we're going is Valdobiadine, Italy. It took me quite a lot of practice to be able to pronounce the name of the town, Valdobiadine, but I finally got it. It's in the heart of the official Prosecco region. You can see the map behind me, which has a pretty wide shot of the southern part of Europe there. And Italy is there, and you'll see the red map pin in the background. That's where Valdobiadine is, and it's just outside of, it's 60 miles north of the city of Venice in Italy. And it's a town in the province of Treviso, Veneto, Italy. And Valdobiadine is an important wine growing area. It's just below the Alpine Dolomite areas of Veneto, and it provides a climate for a cool variety of grape, cool climate grapes. And Valdobiadine is also the home of the very best Prosecco in the world, an extra dry sparkling white wine. And as I mentioned, Prosecco can only be made and only come from this particular region of Italy. So let's go back to our gorgeous landscape and opening frame here. This is, we're looking out on the hills, the hillsides above 60 kilometers north of Venice. So where we're headed is a winery called the Nino Franco Winery. And it was founded in 1919, 102 years ago today, by Antonio Franco. And the winery is also actually located in the village of Valdobiadine, which again is just 60 kilometers north of Venice. It's an area that's considered the most prestigious, if you will, and historical Prosecco production zone in the Prosecco area. By the way, speaking of the chat, has anyone watching been to this Prosecco region or this part of Italy? Hit us in the chat and let us know. I've not been. It looks amazing, and I'm tempted to say we should do a New York Wine Events tour group as soon as things open up. We should go there on a tour and spend a week eating and drinking wine. Tracy has been. That's amazing. Let us know how it was, Tracy. Where'd you go specifically? Oh, she hasn't been, but I think we should go. Yes, well, we definitely should go, and our guest will talk more about that. So Nino Franco, the winery, their calling card is, wait for it, Prosecco, of course. And to learn all about Nino Franco, you can visit ninofranco.it. I'm going to put up on the screen here in my background, I'm going to put up the URL for the winery and some helpful information about today's wine. So actually, this is not the URL for the winery. This is the URL if you're interested in getting these wines, and they're actually very, very price accessible. Heights Chateau in Brooklyn, which is a very good wine shop, carries these wines. And you'll see here, you can go to their website or you can call them if you're interested in the wines. If you order 6 bottles or more, it's 10% off. And just mention Nino, Nino, in the instructions field if you're ordering online. The Prosecco, the Rustico Prosecco, is only $18.99 at Heights Chateau. And that was the wine that was the one that was named the #1 wine in the world by the Wine Enthusiast magazine. They have free delivery in Brooklyn and Manhattan and Queens for orders over $100, and FedEx shipping available in many states elsewhere. So we'll show this information again, but we'll get to learn lots about the different selections and these 4 extraordinary Proseccos. So without further ado, it's my pleasure today to host and welcome Silvia Franco from the Nino Franco Winery. She represents the 4th generation of the Franco family, which owns the winery. And she's also part of a growing number of women who play increasingly important roles in running high-profile Italian wineries. Silvia, welcome to the show. It's so great having you on today. Buon pomeriggio.
Buonasera, I would say here in Italy, because it's evening here. Buongiorno to everybody there in US. Thank you, Sam, for hosting me. Welcome everybody to this tasting, virtual tasting. I'm still.
It's great to have you. And we have a lot of wine enthusiasts watching. And for those of you who don't, for those of those watching who don't know your brand, Silvia and Nino Franco, tell us, what is Nino Franco all about?
So Nino Franco is our family winery. I represent the 4th generation. So as you were saying before, Antonio founded the winery and he was my great-grandfather. Nino was my grandfather and Primo is my father. We are still working together in the winery. Our winery is located in the town, as you said, in the village of Valdobiadine, and it is one of the historical Prosecco producers. Historically, the Prosecco producers, the first Prosecco producers that were born in the early 1900s were located in the center of the village. So we are one of them. In fact, in 1919, we celebrated our 100th anniversary. So it was a big birthday.
You mean in 2019?
Yes, I don't know what I said, but yes, 2019,
2019 was the 100th year. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We are in the heart of the highest level of what Prosecco is, which means the DOCG area. The DOCG level in the Italian wines means the highest quality that potentially a wine can have. This area is located between two main towns. One is Valdobiadine and the other one is Conegliano. It is just as you said before, it's just at the foot of the Prealps, about 1 hour far from Venice, driving. So it's in a beautiful. It has a beautiful influence from the mountains, but also from the seaside.
Now, can you see the snow-covered Alps from Valdobiadine, or is it too far away?
No. We are just under the mountains. So actually, we have to go a little bit further away from the mountain in order to see it, because it's just just behind us, mm-hmm. covered from the trees and everything. So, for example, when I am at my house and I look behind me, I don't see the top of the mountain. I just see the trees, So we are really, it's like 20 minutes driving up on the hill. So it's really just on the foot of this mountain.
It's a cool climate. So do you have a full winter with snow and everything like that?
We do get snow. We did get snow this winter, but usually it doesn't last more than a couple of days. I mean, one day it snows, the other day you still have some snow, and then the third day, usually it's gone. So just in Valdobiadine,
is your region a little bit?
Valdobiadine is like this.
Is your region in Valdobiadine a little bit warmer than like Piedmont and that part of Italy? Or is it the same?
I would say that it's more or less the same. It's not so different.
Yep.
But we do get a lot of snow on the top of this mountain. In fact, this year that the mountains, you couldn't go skiing. People would go to free skiing in this area because we had a lot of snow, more than in the last years. So yeah,
got it.
We do get it up there.
And you were just explaining about DOCG being the highest level of quality.
Yes.
And then there's also DOC, which is the one step down in terms of quality.
Yeah. So the DOCG Valdobiadine Conegliano is located in the region of Veneto. Veneto is in the northeast of Italy. And just in the eastern side of Veneto, you have Friuli Venezia Giulia, which is another very important region for wine production. Not just Prosecco, but whites and reds. Mm-hmm. Prosecco DOC is allowed to be produced in Friuli and in Veneto. The DOCG is just produced in the very small part of these hills between Valdobiadine and Conegliano. So it's about 30 kilometers between the two towns. So it's a very small region. The DOC is more in the flatland. So as everywhere in the world, when you talk about hills, you can have a better quality in terms of grapes than what you can get in the flatland. The DOC is where they produce more the quantity, I would say. The DOCG is more on quality based. Obviously, then it depends from producer to producer, but potentially you really have the best terroir in this area.
And what types of grape varietals make the wines at Nino Franco, and what are the typical grape varietals for the area that you're in?
So Prosecco has to be produced with at least 85% of Glera grape. You spell it Glera, Glera, and the rest can be some specific, some autochthon grapes coming from this area. We at Nino Franco, as our own choice, we decided to use 100% Glera grapes. So we just use this grape to produce our Prosecco.
So, and I want to point out, and it's a lifelong goal of mine to help people, including myself, understand how many different grape varietals there are and to continuously try them and learn about them. So Glera is the grape. I don't know how many people watching. I can say for myself, I don't know if I've ever had a wine made from Glera grapes. Has anybody who's watching, I mean, hit the chat and let us know, like, have you had a wine from Glera grapes? What I want to point out, Silvia, is that there are, in Italy alone, there are almost 1,000 different grape varietals for making wine.
Yes, that's true.
And as I like to say, we Americans are very boring. We drink Chardonnay, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, maybe a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc, and Pinot Noir. That's about it. Maybe some Malbec. We don't know about. There's so many grapes. 1,000 grapes in Italy alone. So anyway, I think it's very interesting to touch on the Glera grape as the thing that is 100% in the wines from Nino Franco.
Yeah, you know, Glera is the grape that it was traditionally called Prosecco, but since 2009, the name Prosecco has become the identification of an area or of a geographical area. So we started to call the same grape that was called Prosecco with the synonym, which was always Glera in the history of the Prosecco. So that's why probably many people knew this grape as Prosecco, which is today, since more than 10 years, called Glera. It's a white, half aromatic grape, and it's very simple, very light, very fresh.
And do producers who grow Glera, do some of them also make still wine, like not sparkling wine, or did they all make Prosecco only?
No, there are some producers that produce a still wine, and actually we have also produced a still wine last year for the first time, using the wine base of Grape di Stecca, one of the Prosecco we're going to taste later on. It's what we decided to do, it's a very simple white wine made with Glera to drink straight away without making it, sorry, it doesn't come the word, without leaving it there for some years, you know, but just
aging.
Aging. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So there are.
Myra has a question. She asks, are all Proseccos dry?
No, there are some Prosecco that are brut, and there are some Prosecco that are higher in sugar. In the European meaning, the correct name to call a sparkling wine with higher sugar is dry, which I know makes a big confusion among people that speak English, so like you, like people from UK. But when we say a dry Prosecco, it means more sugar. When you have to say lower sugar, you call it brut or extra brut.
Okay.
So you can have different level of sugar from 0 to 30.
Got it. So some of them are some of them almost like semi-sweet?
Yes. Well, when you get to 30 grams per liter of sugar, they would be the ones that in France they call demi-sec.
Mm-hmm. So that don't like semi-dry. Oh, this is cool. Arlene, that's awesome. She's tried more than 500 different grapes living in Belgium. So
Wow.
this grape, the Glera grape, is on Arlene's list to try. Well, Arlene, today's your lucky day. You're gonna, if you want to order that Rustico Prosecco from Heights Chateau, I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Certainly, the wine enthusiast guarantees you won't be disappointed. Anyway, so interesting. Well, and now how did the Glera still wine that you made last year, how did that do in the market, Sylvia?
It was a very small production, so we didn't really present it worldwide, also because it was not the best year when to propose a new wine, because it was ready in July, yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, this year hasn't been so easy in this way, but we produced 1,300 bottles, so very, very small production. And
That's
we
like
did it with
100 cases, 110 cases or something.
Yes, we did very well here in our area in Veneto. We did sell something in Europe, but it didn't go so further away than Europe, I would say.
Right. Now tell us, because I think some people may be curious, what's been happening in the wine country in Italy in the pandemic? Like how I'm sure it's had a significant impact. What's happened in this last year that everything has been shut down and opened up and shut down again? What's happening?
Honestly, it was quite difficult for many quality producer, I would say, because the people who work in Italy or abroad or both or one of them, you know, it was the same situation all over the world. So the ones who work in the on-premise, they did have big problems because the on-premise or restaurants, bars, wine bars, they were closed. Actually, in Italy and Europe were closed on and off for months. And I think that producers that usually work with supermarkets, so big distribution, for them it was probably easier because that kind of channel would go on working. Yeah. I can say that the online sales, the big sellers that usually has always like wine.com, the one that you have in US, we have some other realities here in Italy. They worked well, but it was a tough year, I would say, and I hope that from May everything will start and move up again.
Now, do you have a tasting room on site at the winery?
We do have it. I'm just sitting here today with you. So we do make some wine tastings here.
Got it. Okay, cool. Do you guys see this on my screen here? I think we have a picture of the winery here. Yeah. So
this is.
Go ahead, Sylvia.
Yeah, this is our property. This is the Villa Barberina, which is a relais, a kind of bed and breakfast. And it is in the middle of a vineyard called Grape di Stecca, which is a vineyard that a wine that we will taste later. And this is about 1 kilometer far away from the winery.
Got it. And so, this is not where the tasting room is. This is the villa.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it. Cool. I just wanted everybody to see that. It's gorgeous. That goes back that goes more than 100 years back. It goes back a lot longer. Yeah.
The villa, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, in the 1700.
Wow, amazing. Now, was this a part of Italy that during World War II was taken over by the Germans?
It wasn't really taken over, but there were many battles here around, and among the mountains, and near we have a river which is called the Piave near here, which was a place of big battles and people could, you know, could stay on one side and the people on the other side and just making battles there. So actually, it is a place where there were a lot of battles, yeah, during the World War.
So interesting. So I'm going to show another photo in the background here, or for everyone to see. Tell us what's happening in this part, and tell us a little bit about the wine making and the Prosecco making process. And then I promise everyone we'll start tasting the wines. Silvia has all 4 wines, and we're going to taste all of them virtually. But tell us about making Prosecco, Silvia.
So traditionally, Prosecco is made with the Charmat method or Martinotti method, which means that we have 2 different fermentation, and the second one happens in stainless steel tanks like the first one. But the difference with the Champenoise method is that in the Champenoise method, the second fermentation happens in the bottle. So as regards Prosecco, most of the Prosecco are produced with the Charmat method, both fermentation in the stainless steel tanks. We make first fermentation. With the first fermentation, we have a base wine, very dry, without any sugar. Then the second fermentation is the process where we get the CO2 naturally, meaning that we add yeast and we add sugar. So exactly, these are the cuve close. In Italian, you call them autoclavi. These are the stainless steel tanks that must be very strong in order to keep the pressure inside, because we get until 6 bars of pressure inside that until we bottle it, where we lose a little bit of pressure, which is needed to lose it. Otherwise, you would drink bubbles and not Prosecco. And we get until 3.5 atmospheres of pressure in the bottle.
And how many of these tanks do you have, just out of curiosity? How many of these tanks are on site at the winery?
We have about 20, more or less.
Wow. And how much is in each tank? What's the capacity?
So we have 2 different capacities. The smaller one is 40 hectoliters. The bigger one is about 70 hectoliters.
Wow, that's a lot of wine. That's so cool. I didn't know about the pressurization in the tanks, which makes sure that there's not too much bubbles. It keeps the right amount of natural effervescence in the wine.
Well, the right bars, you get it just controlling the fermentation. So when you know you have enough sugar in the wine, when you know you have enough bars, then the fermentation finishes. And then when you directly bottle from the stainless steel tank to the bottle, it just happens. It's like when you open the bottle to drink it, you obviously lose some, when you pop the cork out, obviously you lose some pressure. And it's the same when you bottle the wine.
And so then once it's bottled, are these Proseccos now aging in the cellar?
Exactly. They're not really aging forever, but at the end of the second fermentation, we bring the bottles into the warehouse, in the stock, just to calm down, because the bottling of the wine in the bottle, it's quite a shock for the wine. So the wine needs to calm down in order then to be able to, first of all, to be labeled, and then to be sold, to be drunk.
So a couple of questions come up, Silvia. So fermentation happens in the bottles, or does it happen in the tanks and then also a secondary in the bottles?
No, it's just in the tank.
Just in the tank.
The first fermentation, when we press the grapes, we have the must, we add selected yeast, and the selected yeast is the natural sugar of the grapes, and we get the base wine, the alcoholic fermentation. Second fermentation in special stainless steel tanks, the one you have seen. Yep. And in there, we add some other selected yeasts and some sugar in order to get the pressure, the bubbles, the CO2.
The other question that has come in is how long, and I think this is after you buy the bottle in a store, how long or should you even age Prosecco, or should you drink it right away after you buy it?
We are known as the very, very few Prosecco producers that has been aging some Prosecco, not really to sell it, but to taste it privately and to make some, to make internally some proofs, but also to open these bottles with some special clients that we get here. Not all of our Prosecco, for example, Rustico, which is the first Prosecco we're going to taste, it's very easy to drink, very refreshing, very light, and I wouldn't tell you keep it in your warehouse or in your cellar and see what happens. But I would say this for the San Floriano, which is a single vineyard we're going to taste, for the Grape di Stecca, which we're going to taste, because they have a different structure, more structure, and they go through a little different process that makes the wine be able to age a little longer.
Got it. Well, I think it's time to start tasting some of these wines. And again, the Rustico Prosecco.
Okay, we start with this.
This was the wine that was named the #1 wine on the Wine Enthusiast Top 100 list. So I do have to ask you, what was it like with you and your father and the wine at the winery and the staff when you got the news that this wine was not only on the top 100, but it was the #1 wine on the top 100?
Well, it was really a honor. We wouldn't expect it. And actually, when they told us this, we couldn't tell it because they said you have to wait about 1 month in order to communicate it. And, we were like fire. We had fire inside, like we were almost exploding because we were so happy and we wanted to share with everybody this. So no, it was a honor. It was like receiving an Academy Award, It's something that probably I'm not sure if I'm saying something right, but I think that a winery like us and a Prosecco producer can probably win it once in their life. So it was amazing. It was amazing, and the good thing is that I think it was a good thing for us, but it was a good thing also for the whole appellation. Receiving a recognition also for the whole appellation of Valdobiadine Conegliano Prosecco di OCG.
No, it's amazing. And I love what you did. I'm going to show everybody on screen, but I love what you guys did. When you found out, you changed the labeling on the bottle to include the mention of the award. There it is, 100. Well, that's actually is the anniversary. But
yes, that was the anniversary. But actually, it was to read also like the top 100, so it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So tell us. So this wine is made from the Glera grapes.
Yes.
I love the fact that it's so price accessible. It's $18.99 here in the U.S. And it's so good. I got into the wine world years ago because I love the idea of finding amazing values, like a wine like this that tastes like a $200 bottle or a $500 bottle. That to me is amazing. So tell us about what are the tasting notes, and is this a wine that you just drink for no reason at all, or do you pair it with food or both, or what?
I would say that Rustico is very easy to drink anytime, with anything or with nothing.
Oh,
Meaning that it's so...
Bring it to the beach, bring it to the pool.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. You bring it wherever you want. You drink it early in the morning, late in the evening, in the middle of the day. It's very light, very refreshing, very... you don't have to think about, oh, this is structure, what I taste here, what I taste there. It's I would say that also in terms of tasting, it's very affordable to anyone who would like something simple. You can pair it with an aperitif. You can have it with a pizza, for example. I wouldn't pair it with some very particular food, but if you want, you can. I mean, I know so many clients that drink Prosecco Rustico in the restaurants, and they pair it with very fine and specific plates. But there are also so many that drink it really without pairing it to something particular.
So I'm gonna call Tony this week, and I'm gonna get a bottle of this Rustico, and I'm gonna pair it with a clam pizza, vongole. To me,
wow,
that's heaven. Clam pizza.
I can believe you.
That's so cool. Well, this is the one, everybody, that won all the accolades. So, and then we go from here to the San Floriano. Is that right?
That's correct. So San Floriano, it's a single vineyard Prosecco. It's not so easy to find single vineyards around the world. They are more locally, they are produced by different wineries, but they are sold locally usually. So it's quite a rarity to be able to find it around, to be able to find it there where you are in US. So this is San Floriano.
Yep, and I'll put it up on screen. One question before you tell us specifically about the San Floriano. There's a question from one of our viewers. When you're talking about 100% glera compared to everyone else, other producers doing 85% glera, are you talking about just the Nino Franco Proseccos or just the Rustico? So there's a question about 100% versus 85%.
So as regards Nino Franco, all our Prosecco are produced with 100% glera grapes. As regards the law allows Prosecco producers to produce Prosecco with at least 85% of glera grapes.
Right. So do other producers, some of them use 85% because they want to change the flavor profile, or is it less expensive for them to use less glera, or what?
No, I would say it's more the first thing that you said. So it's because of the flavor, because many Prosecco producers own vineyards where they have both grapes, so they can put the glera inside the blend, but they can also use these other white grapes coming from this territory. And I think it's more a choice of character given to the wine.
Right. So back to the San Floriano. How is this one different from the Rustico? So
Rustico is a blend of glera grapes coming from about 10 different vineyards in the middle elevation hills. San Floriano is a single vineyard, which means that we take all the grapes just from a very small parcel in the middle of Valdobiadine, and we use all those grapes just in this wine. I think that single vineyards are the best way to show how a single territory is and what that place, that soil can give. Even if you have three different vineyards in Valdobiadine, but these three different wines are very different from each other. So San Floriano is the expression of a San Floriano hill. It's a very steep hill. It's a hill coming out from the mountain I was talking about, just behind the center of Valdobiadine. In this case, the process of the first fermentation is a little longer than Rustico, and this is the process that helps to have more structure, more aromas, a finer bubble, finer taste, and at the end you have a Prosecco, which is very different from Rustico. So Rustico is a big bouquet of fruits and flowers exploding in your mouth. In the case of San Floriano, I think you have more a tropical taste, which is quite particular. But it's given from the microclimate that we have in that hill.
And is that sort of a citrus tasting notes, or is it tropical fruits like pineapple and?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like pineapple, like passion fruit, lychee.
Very, very cool. That sounds great. So now, is this one that you would recommend pairing with food, or is this also one to drink anytime, anywhere?
I think both, but it's very good to pair with food. I think it's very good with fish, with oysters, raw oysters. I would pair it also with some raw prosciutto crudo, some those kind of finger food with crostini, with a little piece of bread and something on it that could be salmon, or could be bacala, or could be prosciutto again, or some risotto. Maybe not the risotto, which is a little sweet, but more salty. So risotto with now it comes to me, the seasonal one, which we are starting to have the zucchini, but zucchini is sweeter. But I just had this kind of risotto with San Floriano the other day, and it was really pairing well.
That's great. Yeah, this one sounds like it's more complex, and it's got those tropical flavor notes and tones. And it does, in fact, you just inspired me. I think I'm going to make risotto tonight here in New York for dinner.
Yeah.
I don't have my bottle of this, but I'm going to get a nice bottle of sparkling for that. So that's great. And this one is all of your wines, by the way, are DOCG. Yes.
Yes, we have a small exception that I will explain to you with the next wine, which is Grape di Stecca. But a very important thing on San Floriano and on the Grape di Stecca that we will have afterwards, and other wines that we have, we produce vintage Prosecco, which means that you have the vintage on the label, which means that all the grapes come just from one harvest. As regards Rustico is usually also like this, but there is a period like between November and December where, in order to have the constancy in the wine, in quality and in taste, we make a little blend with the older vintage. But then from January, usually also Rustico is like this. And actually you can see it, I show you the cork. You have the vintage on the cork, on all the corks that we have. And this shows you also on the Rustico that even if it is technically non-vintage, but at the end, it comes just from one harvest, so it is vintage.
So this is not a fair question, Silvia, and I apologize ahead of time.
Okay, I prepare myself.
Is Nino Franco today, 102 years on, are you making your best wines at this very moment?
At this very moment, yes. I mean, every single year, we try to become better and better, and we don't know if there is the chance to do it, but every year when harvest comes, we talk about the way to make the harvest in this specific year, depending on how the weather was in the seasons. And every year we say, okay, was last year this process correct, or should we make it better? Is there a way that we can make it better? We never understand if this is something that everybody can get, because sometimes there are really very small things that we wonder, is it just us that we are really crazy in our mind, or people get this trying to make better and better, you know?
So you're constantly adjusting.
Correct.
Very interesting. All right, let's move on to this Grave, this one is a little bit more expensive. Now, is this a special occasion Prosecco? What is the occasion you would drink this wine on?
Grave di Stecca is a very particular Prosecco. First of all, you're seeing the 2014 vintage packaging. 2014 vintage was the vintage sold in 2019.
Right.
So this was the bottle with which we have celebrated our 100th anniversary. Usually, I show you later the bottle, how it is. It's not so much different, but we have less black than the one that you see here. Grave di Stecca represents the first vineyard that was bought in the history of our family by my father. So we have a special affection to this wine. And since 2007, the grapes of Grave di Stecca vineyard are used to produce this sparkling wine. At the beginning, it was called Prosecco. It was certificated DOC when the area was DOC. I'm not going into this detail now, but some years ago, Valdobiadine Italy was DOC, then it has become DOCG. So Grave di Stecca had both appellations. And then at some point we decided to go out of the appellation with this wine because it was too different from the classic Prosecco. And we wanted to sell it like a sparkling wine, sparkling white wine without appellation. It is a Prosecco because the vineyard, it's in the list of the Prosecco DOCG vineyards. The wine is treated technically as a DOCG until we bottle it. And when we bottle it, just before bottling it, we declare that we are going to bottle Valdobiadine Conegliano Prosecco Superiore DOCG Grave di Stecca as a white wine. So we reclassify the wine as a vino spumante, we say in Italian, so sparkling wine. And this is also very particular because, yes, it is 100% Glera as well. And you have 2014 there. We just started to sell 2015. Grave di Stecca comes always later out in the market. This is because it makes a similar process to San Floriano in the first fermentation. So the wine stays in the contact with the lees, with the grow lees, for about 6 months in this case. And then we make the bottle, we make the second fermentation, the bottling, and then the wine rests in the bottle for about 3-4 years before being released. Wow. Without any yeast in the bottle, without any other fermentation. It's just resting. So obviously the wine gets a different character and structure than the classic young and fresh Prosecco. So when you drink Grave di Stecca, it is more structured. It almost reminds you to a champenoise method, but it's still Charmat. So you have the complexity of a champenoise method, but still the taste of a Charmat, where you still taste the freshness of the Glera grape.
Very interesting. Now, what are the tasting notes, Silvia, on this one?
I would say that here you taste more flowers and less fruit. You taste more vegetal taste. You taste some, how do you say salvia in English? It doesn't come. Okay, it's an aromatic.
Like a spice almost.
It's a kind of spice. Yes, yeah. It's a kind of spice.
Interesting.
Sage. Sage.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's sage. It's very mineral, a great sapidity here. This is much drier in terms of less sugar than Rustico and San Floriano. So Rustico, you have 11 grams per liter of sugar. San Floriano, you have 9 grams per liter. Grave di Stecca, you have 7.
It's very dry.
And it is very good to pair with food, I would say. Mm-hmm. So here again, because it's low in sugar, it's very easy to match with different kind of food. I would remain more on the fish than the meat, but I think that also the meat, if you have some white meat, maybe not the red one, which maybe needs a red wine or a white wine very structured. In this case, I would stay more with a fine food, with some sushi as well. The other night I had Grave di Stecca with sushi delivered because restaurants are closed at the moment, so at home, and it was a great pairing.
Now that is great. So now, when the Franco family sits down for a family meal, what is the favorite food to pair with the Grave di Stecca?
If I have to be honest, we choose the wine depending on what we decided to cook, more than deciding what to cook depending on the stecca or the wine, you know. But you know what? We usually, Grave di Stecca, we usually drink it when we have friends, when we have clients eating with us at home. We usually open Grave di Stecca for the aperitif. And maybe we drink it for the first course, and then we go with another red wine from friends, you know, from friends producers. Right. But Grave di Stecca, we drink it. We many times with friends coming from abroad. We have Grave di Stecca with a plate of prosciutto crudo. So also Grave di Stecca is very good with prosciutto crudo, or with some mandels. When you sit at the table and you have a first course, this is also very good with meatballs, polpette, with that kind of food, which is also a little bit richer. Mm-hmm. So fine, but a little richer than the fish I was talking about with San Floriano and Rustico.
What about cheese?
Yeah, it depends on the cheese, because, you know, you have a good acidity here. So acidity is one of the characteristics that Prosecco must have. And in the case of some of Grave di Stecca, you probably taste it more than other wines because you have less sugar. So depending on this acidity, I think it depends on which cheese you choose. I would choose maybe some cheese that it's not too that doesn't have too much aroma, and maybe it is a little, you know, also gorgonzola that has the gorgonzola dolce, so the sweet one. Mm-hmm. Which is strong, but it is sweet. It's not too acid like some other cheese.
Got it. Okay. Now that's super interesting. I actually made a gorgonzola and arugula pasta this week, which was very nice. This might go well with that too.
Yes. So, I agree.
So yeah. So okay. So let's talk about the last wine, which is the Faive Rosé. So this one I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, is very popular in the US because people here are wild about rosé.
It's not so popular. I would say that the most popular Prosecco from Nino Franco that you have in US, it's Rustico.
Rustico.
The people from New York are quite lucky because they get almost all of our labels there. But as regards the whole US, we have more we have more Rustico than anything else. So Faive, it's not a big seller in US, but still the people that I met that have it on their wine list when I was in US, they were really happy about that. So they were very enthusiastic. Faive is not Prosecco. This is very important to say, because since the beginning of this year, the law allowed to produce Prosecco Rosé, which wasn't allowed to produce before, and to be called Prosecco. So since then, many Prosecco producers produce Prosecco Rosé. This is a rosé that we have always been producing since 20 years, I think. It's a blend between Merlot and Cabernet Franc. It's a very particular blend, and it will remain this blend and not the blend that is allowed to produce in order to produce Prosecco. So this will remain a sparkling rosé wine and not a Prosecco.
And in Italian, you call it a spumante.
Yeah, when we talk about spumante means simply sparkling wine. It means a sparkling wine that must have at least 3.5 atmospheres of pressure. So spumante can be Prosecco, spumante can be Champagne, spumante can be Franciacorta, can be any sparkling wine that has a minimum of CO2.
Got it. Well, it's a beautiful bottle. I love the color; is really striking. What are the tasting notes on this wine, and what are the occasions and foods that you would recommend?
So Faive is made also with Charmat method. So this method, like in the Prosecco, helps to keep the fresh aromas and flavors of the grapes. This said, since the grapes are red, we have more red fruits here coming out, more like, the red flowers like the rose. We have some cherry here, some strawberry. It is dry, so dry meaning low sugar. So it's about 7, like Grave di Stecca, 7 grams per liter. In this case, I would pair it with some salmon, with some shrimps risotto. This is also very good with a local salami that we have, which is called soppressa, which is a very rich salami. And in this case, Faive, since it has these 2 grapes that are very rich, Faive as well has a kind of richness. On one side, it is refreshing and light, but on the other side, you feel the richness of the grapes. And Faive means sparks in the Venetian dialect. So we chose this name as to show as to remind with this wine the sparks of the fire, the red sparks of the fire coming up. And this is also a vintage spumante.
Does your family speak the Venetian dialect?
My father does. Well, my father speaks more the local dialect, but it is quite similar. It's not so different.
Yeah.
I understand it. I don't speak it, and my mother as well. So it's a mix. It's a mix.
It's so interesting. I think it's easy, at least for me, to forget that there's Italian is the language in Italy, but there are lots of dialects in the regions. Like Sicilian is the dialect in Sicily, and so on. So, This sounds like a great wine. This also sounds like it could be an anytime, anywhere wine.
I would say the same. I mean, I tried to give you some suggestions in terms of pairing, but I think that all these wines, you can also have it, enjoying them without food.
Yeah, no, it's so great. Well, I'm going to put up on the screen here, just so people have it handy. Anybody who's interested, we have, and thank you, Tony, who works with you here in America on making sure that people can find the wines and get them at their local retailer, etc. So I'm going to show everybody that screen again, which this is how you can obtain these amazing sparkling wines, Proseccos from Nino Franco, heightschateau.com. And you can also call. If you're in the New York area or in the New York Metro, there's delivery is free in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens with a minimum order. And otherwise, they ship around the country via FedEx. So I know that Nancy, who's watching, got a bottle of Rustico, if not more, before today's session. I am going to be getting my Rustico, and I also want to pick up a bottle of Grape and the Faive as well, because I just think these are so extraordinary, and it's such a pleasure, Silvia, to have the opportunity to spend time with you at the winery today, and to get us all in our minds out of the States and out of New York and beyond, and over into Italy, at least in our minds, virtually. And as Tracy says, grazie mille. She picked up the Rustico Faive and the San Floriano before today's session, and
wow,
that's a great endorsement, Tracy. I'm sure they were great, and I trust Nancy when she says that the Rustico was just amazing. So I want to thank you, Silvia, for doing this. This was our second time. We did this back in June last year, which was really fun. And it's great to visit with you again. And frankly, we should do it once again in the future when you have some new selections, and maybe we could do one of the still wines as well.
Yeah.
And I am gonna say to everyone watching, I think, and actually Silvia has inspired me on this as well. I think at some point in the future we will organize a trip with a small group to go to the Valdobiadine area and Veneto winemaking region to taste some great wine and have some food with it. So that'll be amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching and tuning in. Tune in next week and join us. We're going to Umbria in Italy, and we're going to what is perhaps the most beautiful winery in Umbria, D'Amico Wines. So Silvia, thank you again. And
Sam, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody. You are all welcome to come here as soon as trips will be allowed and will be easy to do. So whenever you want, just contact us through our website, and it will be the pleasure to welcome you.
We'll see you in the tasting room at Nino Franco.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, well, stay safe over there, and thank you, everybody. We will see everyone soon. Have a great day.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye now.